How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson, and we're back with Nick, aka DJ Petrovsky, from Sobering Stories to delve into the next part of the Silent Children saga that Nick has been researching. Now, before we do that, and before Nick gets a chance to say hello to everybody, we are test running a few things on the Shaun Attwood channel. Now, you will see, I'm going to show you guys right here. Some of the lives have two postings, right? The software that we use has been given an update that allows us to do two different styles of layout, one for like TikTok reel format, one for podcast. It may be a bit all over the place until we get everything ironed out. Shaun's going to be trying to do a live stream with it turned on after this show. I'm going to go and help him make sure everything's laid out, and then it's members night over on my night. So just bear with us. I know it'll be a little bit confusing, because as soon as we can figure out how to, there's a mobile icon. I've just seen it. So there's an icon there that tells you it's the mobile version. Okay,
that's cool.
Sweet. So what I'll do is in the future, I'm going to edit the thumbnail so that the thumbnail has a prevalent display of which one it is. So at least we've figured that out. Now, Nick, how are you handsome devil? What's been happening? What you've been covering? Take us through how you're doing, first of all, and we'll jump into your content in just a minute. But how are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good. Life's been good. It's fall here in Colorado, so the leaves have all changed. It's starting to get cold, but that's cool with me because I'm inside a lot. So it makes me feel less guilty for just chilling inside, researching conspiracy stuff. But life's been good. Life's been really good. And I'm really grateful you guys brought me back on. I really enjoyed our convo as well. So good to be back.
Thank you for coming back. It was awesome. And the viewers absolutely loved hearing your story and your research. So tell us a little bit about
what I like to hear.
Yeah, man, it really popped. So tell us a little bit about your content that you've been covering. I see Will Brittany be next. Tell us a little bit about that, and make sure you guys subscribe. Nick's links are down in the description. But fill us in on what you've been covering since we last seen each other.
Yeah, and if you haven't watched that Brittany video, you guys, it is so good. Like, I don't know, there's just certain episodes you're a little bit more proud of than others, and that's definitely one of them. But the Brittany one's really interesting because most of the people we talk about are already gone.
Britney Spears.
And it's like, we might have been able to do something about it, but Britney Spears' story is actively unfolding. So it had me really questioning things, and there's some really interesting connections. Her whole involvement with Kabbalah was really interesting. I had never heard of this, but I thought we might even talk about that tonight because it's a pretty interesting, I don't even know if I'd call it a religion, maybe a cult, which might be what this cabal of elites is actually practicing. So I thought that was kind of weird, but the whole Britney thing is just strange, and it's been blowing up for no reason lately. So I felt I had to jump in and see what's up.
Take us through what stood out for you in that investigation, because I mean, you were saying that there is like a religion that you think is possibly involved in this. Like, take us through your findings. What stood out for you? Because when you get closer and closer to the truth, similar words keep popping up. So carry on with it, mate, because I want to hear.
Well, and with Britney Spears too, like, who would have thought Britney Spears would have any sort of, like, I don't know, interesting occult background, even a little bit. But once she had, I think it was her fourth album, she got involved on a track with Madonna called Me Against the Music. And after that, she had introduced Britney Spears to this Kabbalah religion. And it's originally an ancient Jewish mystic religion sector of Judaism. It's not really its own thing. It's like an offshoot of it. And it was originally set up, or like the only people really practicing it were high members of the church, Jewish spiritual leaders, people who were really in tune with their spirituality, because it's like you use these mystic experiences. Maybe like the best example I could think of would maybe be like astral projecting or just meditating really hard so they can achieve enlightenment or closer spiritual attachment, or I don't know, closeness with God. Yeah, and so it originally started as like a really positive, really spiritual, it's like still a status symbol, because if you are able to practice this religion, it immediately means that you are kind of higher up in the church, which puts you at a higher status, which I immediately found interesting. I was like, well, first of all, it's a Jewish mystic religion that a lot of celebrities seem to you've got that picture up right now. A lot of not just celebrities, even it's a lot of interesting, questionable celebrities, especially after the Diddy stuff. I mean, Ashton Kutcher's on there and Demi Moore as well, and their whole situation was really weird with the age gap, and that was kind of like a tabloid moment. And so it
Yeah.
almost makes you wonder why Ashton was driven towards that. Maybe this religion had something to do with it. But I was like, well, it sounds pretty harmless. It seems pretty like spiritual and positive. It doesn't seem weird at all. But then when you look more into it, there's been numerous offshoots of this spiritual faction that have become more aligned with the occult. And it's kind of like a well known thing that the Freemasons adopted this religion as their own practice, but then they have their own like offshoot of it. And it's just more ritualistic. It's more focused on the way that they put it in the Kabbalah terms is the normal Kabbalah is called Sephirot, and it focuses on the tree of life, attaining enlightenment. The other side of it, which is the occult, which is what the Freemasons more adopted and what I was more interested in,
Okay.
was the tree of death. And so it's more focused on sacrifices, rituals, things to attain. Like you were talking about last week, the most awful things you can think of to carry those out in order to gain the exact opposite of that
Right.
through these rituals and their agreements with Satan and these different I don't know, idols, whatever. So that was immediately caught my attention. And I was like so hung up on the fact that she was involved in that. But then to find out in 2006, she left the church. And she even said in like a tabloid statement, like, my baby is my religion now. And instead of thinking, just most people just seem to breeze past that, like, oh, okay, yeah, it was a weird, she did a religion thing. But I was thinking like that's almost seems like, once you're in like a cult or a club, like if you bail on that cult or club, like even in GTA, you bail on your motorcycle club, you're set for death. So I
Right.
feel like the same might be true with this elite occult cabal. She has secrets that she could expose. She has things she could say. And suddenly in 2007, tabloids erupt. Britney Spears is insane. And then she goes into a conservatorship by 2008. The
Yeah.
timing was interesting to me. So that's really what sparked my interest in the whole story. And yeah, it made me wonder, is Britney really next? Like maybe she, like, it feels like Aaron Carter all over again to me.
Well, look, Judy is asking, is the red bracelet a clear symbol that they wear? Is this a sign of this group?
Yeah, this is I don't know exactly where it comes from. It's like a support bracelet. What it means is it's supposed to be a symbol of the power of healing, and it's like a
Okay.
healing bracelet, but it is specific to Kabbalah. And you
Okay.
can see tons of these celebrities wearing it. I don't know if they got it. Well, Madonna runs the Kabbalah Center in Los Angeles, and I really don't know what that place is all about. I do know that one of the guys, one of the main like rabbi, like priests or whatever that works there, has settled or actually got charged and convicted of SA on some female member of that Kabbalah Center in LA,
Okay.
which Madonna funds and kind of she's super involved with it. She like does classes and offers services and shit through it. So it's kind of weird. And then it might have been something through that center, that like some sort of fundraiser, that they get these bracelets. But yeah, I don't know. The bracelet thing was kind of interesting, and not
Let me,
everybody wears them, but there's a lot of people that are interesting that wear them.
yeah. Let me ask something. So there's always this whisper or essence of the occult that these celebrities are drawn to when it comes to societies or religions. Have you noticed in your research that there's an essence of trying to obtain the unobtainable, trying to learn? When you mentioned remote viewing and things like this, do you feel like it's that mystical mindset of what do you get the person who's already got everything? You know, do you feel like
Yeah.
you're seeing this mystical draw repeat
Yeah,
itself?
I definitely could see that. Um, Especially if everybody around you is doing the same thing. Or it almost I really don't. That's the thing that always gets me is like everybody seems to be involved with it, And maybe it's because everybody's involved with it that it's like, if you don't do this, then you won't achieve that next level. Not even because of the religious, occult, whatever. It's just because the people who hold the power to move you up are involved in this. And
Mm,
I don't know. At a certain point, I almost feel like it's all blackmail. Like it's all just
right.
they pose it as this like occult thing to get you all the things that you want in life, but then essentially they're just blackmailing you.
Yeah, they're
And I did
recording.
find it interesting after our talk last week that you had mentioned like the Silent Children project being a way to like flush out the enemy essentially. And I
Yeah.
thought that that was a really curious thing because after there was a lot, there was a whole string, like four, maybe five people, all actually, yeah, five people all in a row, if you include Kate Spade, who all died under mysterious circumstances, under like with possible occult ties. And then after that, you don't see a lot of people in the music industry whistleblowing or involved in any of these child exploitation projects or doing anything. And the next thing that we find out is the whole stuff about Diddy. So I don't know. I thought that that was kind of interesting. I didn't really think about that until our chat last time.
Yeah, it's easier for these bloodlines that run the world, the cabal, as I call them. It's easier for them to be the monster and the savior to control everything. If
Oh
they're the
yeah.
ones who are luring people out under the guise of destroying the very thing they stand for, it's a tactic that would work to their advantage really well. Now, listen, everybody, make sure you are liking and subscribing. Please share. Please push this out. I would really, really appreciate it.
So would
The
I.
knowledge, yeah, so would I. People need to know the realities of these groups, and Brittany's a very interesting one. And this sect that she was part of, and this red bracelet. Was there anything else that stood out in your research for Brittany? Was there anything else that made you question? There was somebody earlier, one moment. Are we talking about the fake Brittany TikToks? Now, do you know what that's about? Are people saying there's fake TikToks? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, unfortunately I know so much about the Britney case. And yeah, the
Okay.
right now that's the big explosion with that's pretty much what got me interested in the case. Like initially, I didn't know who to talk about last week or this week's or no, yeah, last week. And I'd seen a couple Britney videos pop up talking about how she is just an AI generated version of her.
Wow.
And actually, it was my girlfriend. I was watching these, and she was the one that was like, or I'm sorry, my fiance. She said that she's totally AI. That's all AI. And I was like, wait, what? But then I was looking at it, and I was like, she's either really cracked out, like Whitney Houston style,
Yep.
or it's AI. And then as I was looking into it, Sam Ashgari is the guy that she married in like what was it, 2022? It was the last marriage she got into. Sam Ashgari was he I don't even really know how they met or got involved, but he's a filmmaker. He like does his own Instagram channel. He does like visual effects and he has this crazy green screen studio in his house
Okay.
that he shows off all the time on Instagram. So you'll see it in my video, but it's like a full room that's just covered in green with like tons of really expensive cameras like full on every aspect of his body and it
Is it?
recreates an image of him that does its
It's
own
motion
things.
capture. Yeah, it's a motion capture studio.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, that connect. He just got married to her in 2022, and not only are they saying that Britney's AI videos or dance videos are AI, but people think that her wedding was AI generated, and it
Well,
is
here's the
kind of
thing. Here's the
weird.
thing. Here's the thing. If we're listen, if he's got what's called a motion capture studio, okay, that basically means that's how they made Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Okay, so I could
Yeah,
put a bunch of sensors on you, you could dance around, and then we just put the Britney Spears skin over you, and that's what people will see in the final media. AI
yep,
is a little bit different, if you see what I mean, just to nerd out a little bit and just separate the two different technologies a little bit.
yeah,
Motion capture has been around for years. I could totally see home produced motion capture. And I'll be honest with you, if we were to go on Sora right now and type in, create me a TikTok for a Britney Spears lookalike who's dancing erratically, we could see what would come out of that. Well, maybe we'll maybe do that over on your channel one night, and we'll have a look at what the possibilities are, because debunking that
yeah.
would be an interesting one to go down.
I honestly am glad you pointed that out because, in my opinion, I do believe, in fact, I think in most people's opinions, I think AI is just easier for people to understand, so maybe that's why it does get lumped
Yeah,
together. But the proofs that people have found, it's more motion generated or motion capture, like you said, because there's parts where it slips, where they'll put like a mask over an actual person doing whatever they're doing, and the
yeah.
mask slips, and you'll see another person's eyes, and it almost seems like the same person's eyes in a couple different videos.
That
So
would
I would
be,
say it probably is more motion capture than
yeah,
AI generated. And
yeah.
AI generated movies are always just slightly off. Not in the way that Britney's are slightly off. The way that Britney's are slightly off is they're just weird and don't really make sense. And then you'll find these weird slips of her face in the generation of like the
Well,
graphics. But it's not like weird like AI where she has another hand or like just
yeah.
morphs
Well,
bodies or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly, exactly. But here's the thing. There's, do you remember when Snapchat came out, right? Before
Mhm.
Snapchat came out, people putting filters on looked catastrophic, right?
Yeah.
And then
The face swaps. Do you remember the face
everyone,
swaps?
yeah, everyone decided to download what Snapchat, and their face is now, the ways that these things change on Snapchat now is just incredible, right? So
Mhm.
when you see things slip, okay, and you see someone else's eyes and things like that, that is definitely leaning into the motion capture realm. Or they may have even simplified it even further with just a general overlay skin. It's so easy to do if you understand the process of the technology, if you know what I
Well,
mean.
and the ones nowadays are getting so good. My dogs get the filters put on their face and like they'll stay really well when you go
Right?
on Snapchat. Like they stay way better now than they ever have. And if I mean that's just technology that we have as peons. I'm sure that they have really cool technology with the money
Yeah,
they've got to be able to do actual stuff like that instead of just
a hundred
Snapchat.
percent, a
That's
hundred
the so
percent.
what it's showing right now is that tree of life versus the tree of death within Kabbalah that I was talking
Okay.
about. And it's
Yeah.
like
So
almost the same process, but you achieve it through rituals and sacrifices as opposed to like meditation and personal enlightenment.
okay. Well, I mean, this sounds like the direct correlation of good and evil.
Yeah, it honestly really is. And then basically it's just their version of practicing the evil side of this
Mm.
mystic mystic religion. Sorry to like derail for a second, but I
No,
saw it pop up.
you're good. Don't worry.
So, but yeah, the Britney story really got me curious because I had no idea about any of that with Britney. I've always felt super bad for her about the whole situation that she's been in. It just sounds so awful. Like it never, the fact that they had her out there touring, doing TV shows, making movies was proof enough that she was totally competent and able to manage her own life. And yet they kept her in this thing. But the other piece that I found interesting that a lot of people really brought up more than the Kabbalah kind of ties was Lou Taylor. And Lou Taylor is notorious for trying to basically come in and establish these. She tried to do it with Lindsay Lohan. I think there was another person she tried to do it with. I can't remember. And she also is Diddy's like music manager, but she essentially or financial manager. Her company is called TriStar, and they manage financial assets. They say they're cash flow management, like an asset manager basically, and they manage Diddy's finances. And as soon as Britney was starting to go wild, she contacted her dad and they basically planned out this whole conservatorship situation. And then, of course, Lou Taylor and TriStar gets a payment of, it was a shit ton of money. It was like 15% of Britney's earnings or whatever. And so
Damn,
it was a huge percentage. And then on
that's
top of
wild.
that, yeah, it was kind of insane, but then even more, her husband, Lou Taylor's husband, owns a church, and they would have all their payments funneled through the church, which of course is tax exempt, nonprofit, blah blah blah. So money laundering, just like you mentioned last week, like all these businesses that just seem too convenient or make no sense, they're probably money laundering, and that's exactly what this church feels like. And Lou Taylor is probably, I mean, they call her Lucifer Taylor because she's just an evil lady moving in, trying to capitalize and make money on people's sadness and trauma
Yeah.
and being successful with it. But the connection with Diddy being Diddy's financial manager and asset manager, and even more than that, there's a lady named Robin Greenhill who was actually Britney's like direct like tour manager who controlled how much Britney worked, and she's the one overworking Britney nonstop. she was the lady that was working for Diddy, writing the checks for all of the people that were coming out for these freak offs, all of the sex workers, everybody was this Robin Greenhill lady. So that obviously implicates TriStar, Lou Taylor, this Robin Greenhill lady for writing all these checks and being complicit in all of this freak off, sex trafficking, whatever the hell else Diddy was doing. They were writing the checks for it. So it's just weird how everything is so connected. And then poor Britney they made her work on her birthday. They just made her work all the time. And she had no control over her money. So none of that money went to her. It all went to the trust, as they called it, which is Lou Taylor, a court mandated guy named Alex Wallet, ironically enough, and then her dad, Jamie Spears. So absolutely weird how everything just continues to get connected more and more the further you go, the deeper you dig.
Yes,
Especially
it's
to
the
Diddy.
same club. It's the same
It's
club,
all
bro.
the same club, yeah. It really
It's
is.
crazy though. It's crazy, and the more the more we talk, and the more you do your research, I see you hitting the same bits of knowledge and discovering things as I did. But my theory on Britney is real dark and has zero evidence to back it up, right?
I'm
But
curious though. There's a lot
I,
of people think that
mean,
she's already gone.
I think I think she had a mental breakdown and done something to herself or her two children, right? That ended lives, okay? And that's why the conservatorship was put in. That's why her husband was given the kids and off he popped and no one saw any of that. I just have a weird feeling that it's something horrific as a result of a complete and utter mental breakdown. And there's no evidence of that. And I'm pulling this out my backside, but that's the vibe I got from the whole Britney thing. And
I could totally see that. I don't think it's outside the realm.
There's so many stories of mothers who can't process what I don't want to speak too much, but there's been a lot of cases where tragedy has happened where a mother has ended the life of their kids in the bath and then herself, and it's
all the time.
sadly more common than you think. I have a weird feeling with no proof, no evidence. This is just one man's opinion that something like that happened. I really, really, really do.
Well, her
Because
son Jaden, to kind of back that up, her son Jaden, for no real reason, like I couldn't find a good reason, he does not like his mom at all. Like he talks a lot of shit about her. She talks a lot of shit back online. It makes you wonder if it's even real or if they're just making it up for views or whatever to draw more attention. But it gives you more credibility if something did happen between them. And the thing that Kevin Federline came out and just said in his new memoir was that he thinks Britney is on like hard, like doing math. And so I was like, that's interesting because her drug of choice throughout her entire career was Adderall. And so I wouldn't even doubt that she might upgrade to the
that's
harder stuff
wild.
eventually. Yeah. And if you look at her in those videos, if it's not motion generated or whatever, if that is actually Britney, then yes, she is 100% either cracked out or smoking meth.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
She looks in those ones when she's got the knives and she's dancing around. She looks like one of those women that you see in an episode of Cops, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's what she reminded me of. Like that's what she reminded me of. Like Mad Britney down at the 7-Eleven at the dumpster going crazy again. That's the vibe it gave. And you know yourself when you've got the difference between a substance user who can afford their habit and people who can't. There's a clear difference in withdrawal, a clear difference in how they can, feed themselves and all the rest of it. And someone like Britney would be able to afford her habit, and it's an interesting one to try and assess from afar, really. But I don't think you're far off with it, mate. I think she's definitely, if that is her, she is cooked in those photos, in those TikToks, 100%. 100%.
Oh yeah, it almost doesn't even look like her, and she doesn't even like her makeup's always like smeared, and she just looks rough every single time. And then for her to come out and post about it, it just seems weird. Like, why go on there and look like that and post more about it? It just seems really
Well,
weird
is it
for her to want to do
okay?
that.
Let's just for the last section on Brittany. Let's assume it's Brittany. She's alive and well. What options would she have to cry for help in a way that didn't endanger her? If we want to break this down, would it be go on camera and look so out of her face that people get concerned? Would that be a tactic you could use? I think that would be one of the very few tactics at hand to her. Would be to show herself in such a state that people draw concern from that. What's your
Yeah.
take?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, maybe she's seeking attention. I really don't know, honestly. Like, I really couldn't see any real reason for her to do that, especially if she's trying to, like, the whole thing that at the end of this conservatorship was she was pushing for people to know that she was okay, that she didn't need to be in this conservatorship. She had a 23-minute
Yeah,
testimony talking about how she is just fine and how awful this conservatorship actually was. If anything, the conservatorship made her go crazy because she was constantly controlled. Every move, she was constantly under surveillance by bodyguards or people that reported back to her dad. So for her to come out when she has this newfound freedom, the only reason she could do, in my opinion, would do that is because she's so high and so out of it that she doesn't even
yeah,
realize how bad she
yeah,
looks. But otherwise, the way I was putting it in my video, especially, was this is just, if it is motion generated, which I think it very well could be, this is their way of just making her look, because she's already dead, or they're going to kill
right.
her, making her
Okay,
look curious.
so
Yeah.
if she has been unalived and this is all propaganda, they're wanting to show you a demise, like a descent into whatever her official ending will be. I think that's a great point. Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
make her look
Because
completely. Yeah,
they're gonna kill her eventually, in my opinion, because the only way Britney's already done making music, she doesn't tour anymore. The only way that her music is ever gonna take another spike is when she finally passes away, and then everybody rushes out to get Britney Spears albums and reminisce, and
yeah.
it has like 1,000% spike in sales when an artist dies like that.
Mm.
So that's like, if she is
I am.
already dead, then they're just planning it out so they can do it eventually. If not, then they're making her look crazy for when they do actually do it. So
Oh well,
either
yeah,
way, that's my
and
belief.
100% she'll be doing it herself. Just to clarify, just to make
Oh
everyone
yeah,
understand.
yeah. In
It'll
the
be an
bathtub.
open and closed, as like gift wrapped a case as you could possibly have. 12 hours of investigation, case closed, national press, cash in on
Yep.
the yeah. I mean, damn. And you know what? You nailed it. That's probably exactly what's happened, and it's grim. Well, look, let's segue into the second, basically the second part of the Silent Children. Excuse me. And before we do that, if everyone can like and share, push this out for me, I would really, really appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job of already doing that. And I just want to thank everyone for being here and being part of the show. Shaun is going to be live after this live, talking about new theories covering the Charlie Kirk case. And yeah, so we're going all night. And if you're a member on my channel, it's members night tonight. It's probably going to start about 9:30. I'm going to go help Shaun after this with a couple of little things. So Nick, again, thank you for being here. Let's carry on with our story of the Silent Children, and what is the next stage of it, really.
Yes, we covered quite a bit last week, but we didn't really talk about some of the, like, more obvious stuff, which would be like how all of these people actually passed away and just the circumstances around it. Because a lot of them, that's really what convinced me at the end of the day, was how suspicious everything really was and how it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys remember hearing about the death of Chester Bennington or Chris Cornell or Kate Spade or Anthony Bourdain, Avicii, all, pretty much every last one of them, honestly, except for Kate Spade, because I didn't know anything about her at the time. But I was just immediately struck, like, that feels weird. It feels off, and it doesn't really make any sense. And it all just seems so convenient, especially Anthony Bourdain. I mean, what did that guy have to be upset about? He had such a crazy cool life. And he even talked about how he was grateful to have the job that he had. Like, he had the best job in the world. And every last one of these people was said to have been happy and just fine before they died, except for Anthony Bourdain. but nobody really knows what was going on with him. They just speculate he was fighting with Ossia. But besides that, everybody was said to be happy, perfectly fine. There's even videos of Chester Bennington playing like Bean Boozled, that game where you eat the gross jelly beans and the good jelly
Yeah.
beans, and like, yeah. And so he's playing that with his family, having a perfectly good night, laughing, joking, not drinking. They're all sober at this point as well, which was the other piece that I think is always left out. I don't think any of these stories, except for maybe Chris Cornell's, focused on them overdosing on drugs and that leading to what happened. But all of these guys were sober. Anthony Bourdain was probably the only one that I think still drank, but he wasn't a heavy drinker. But he also struggled with like black tar for a long period of time. And so he
Yeah.
was sober from pretty much everything. And I think he would just drink occasionally. But Chester Bennington had been sober. He'd actually just gotten out of rehab. And then at the crime scene, they found two different bottles of beer. They found a Stella Artois and a Corona bottle, which I found to be really weird. I mean, how often do you have like two different beers in the fridge? Maybe that's more common than I think, but I just thought it was weird, especially because he was supposed to be sober. But nobody talks about it. It was just in the police report, but nobody mentions that he had relapsed and this is why he did that. It's all just talking about how he was always depressed and talks about how he was like an addict for a really long time, but nobody talks about how he was actually sober before that. And same with Chris Cornell. He had been sober for years. The only thing that he was on that night was Ativan. And he had actually, there's multiple different stories of when he took this Ativan, how much he took. His wife says that she had spoken to him on the phone, and he says that he took double the amount of Ativan that he should have. And that's why he was like slurring his words and ended up hanging up on her. But then the autopsy report shows that he had therapeutic levels of Ativan in his system, which means that he was taking it as prescribed. And he also says, like another story mentions that he had asked his bodyguard for the Ativan before he went to his own hotel room, which as an addict, I could see that being something you would do, like an accountability buddy almost, like you control my supply so I don't overtake it, because I am an addict. And so I could see that being something Chris Cornell would do. He seemed like a really responsible guy. And so who knows what his bodyguard actually gave him when he asked that for that Ativan. So, but then again, everybody's saying that Chris Cornell like had relapsed on drugs and was super fucked up, and that's why he decided to end it all. But there's no proof of that, like at all. Like I couldn't find a single thing. And so they both wives, Vicky Cornell and Talinda Bennington, were pushing the narrative really, really hard that they seemed happy and just fine, but we didn't see the signs. And we know that they were depressed their whole lives and they just finally couldn't take it anymore. But you don't get the vibe from them that that's what was going on at all. In fact, Chris seemed like really upbeat the night of the show before he'd gone back to the hotel room. There's tons of, excuse me, there's tons of videos about it. And he seemed super upbeat, in super good mood. He signed some autographs and like talked to fans afterwards, and they had reported saying he seemed fine. And then he had actually had a like his Apple TV or the internet. There's reports of both, but something wasn't working in his hotel room that night. So right before he was planning to leave this world, he wanted to make sure that his Wi-Fi was working or his Apple TV was working in proper order. It just didn't make any sense to me. And neither did the whole situation with the bodyguard having to kick the doors in, because he called the front desk and asked them to open the door. They said, we can't unlock the door for you because it's not your room. So he said, fine, I'm going to kick the door in. He kicks that door in, realizes there's a second door that's closed and allegedly locked, even though I don't know what other door locks to like a bedroom side of a hotel, but maybe it did. And then he should have just kicked that second door in, right? Because he already kicked the first one in. No, he calls the front desk yet again and says, "Yo, I'm gonna kick this second door down if you guys don't get up here," knowing the whole time that Chris is in
Yeah.
trouble, according to Vicky Cornell, who told him to go in there and check on him. So then he kicks this second door down finally, and then they find Chris, or he finds Chris with his feet on. Actually, he was completely on the floor, is what the report said. So that was the other piece with all of these, is that every last one of them, their feet were found on the floor. So either they were erotically asphyxiated or they, I don't know. It's weird. They had to have somebody involved because if your feet are on the floor, you'd imagine, especially if you're pushed up against a door, your body's automatic response
Hey,
is gonna be to
can I
try and
ask?
stand up.
Can I ask how many
Mm.
of these were declared self-unalivings, and how many of these were declared accidental overdose?
All of them were actually declared self-unalivings. Yep.
Okay,
The
so
only
here's the
ones that
thing.
had anything to do with substances was Chris. Everybody was pushing that
Okay,
he must have
so
relapsed, but
let's just imagine we're in a situation like that, and we've come to that horrible decision that we're going to do this. You've spoken quite extensively about how in the right mind they all seem to be. You would think that that would include a lengthy explanation, right? Like
Mhm.
pages and pages of, don't worry, this is what I want. It's not your fault. This is why it's happened. You would think, right?
Mhm.
That's what would happen. Now, it's a horrible thing to try and imagine yourself in that scenario. But if you're in your right mind, you would think that that would be a big part, is not leaving behind people with questions, right?
Oh, 100%. And they all had kids, they all had
Right?
families. And like I said, Chester was literally hanging out playing Bean Boozled with his kids, well,
Right?
some of his kids. He has like 6 kids. But yeah, they all had kids, they all had families, they were all still doing music, they all had future plans. They were all involved in child exploitation projects that were actively ongoing. So like they had a lot of things that they and I looked up the statistics because I thought it was really weird that none of them left a note. But the stats are that really only 25% of people who do
Okay.
that actually leave a note. So I was surprised to find that out. But if you think about it, out of the 5 people that I talked about, Kate Spade was the only one who did leave a note. And in her note, it was really weird. She said something about like, ask your dad. It's not your fault. Ask your dad or something like that. It was really weird. They didn't release the whole thing, but they released a part of it. And that's what it said. But yeah, so I mean, it's 25% of people. I would imagine the people that do leave a note are the people in this situation, just like you said, who have a lot of reasons to explain why they did this out of the blue. And everybody says that they were all depressed, and everybody points to Chester and how Linkin Park's music was so depressing and blah, blah, blah. But Chester didn't exclusively write the lyrics to most of the music. In fact, him and Mike Shinoda worked pretty tandem on the lyrics, but also the other members of the band. They they all included shit about their depressed, but that's just what sold. That's what the band was made on. That's what sold when they got big.
See, it's
So obviously
interesting
that's the vibe they're going
because
to keep going with.
I never really got this is depressing music vibe from Linkin Park, if I'm
That's what
being
I'm saying.
perfectly
I
honest.
mean,
The
I
lyrics
can
might be
see.
the lyrics might be interpreted one way or another, but I'm never sitting depressed thinking, do you know what? Do you know what I need? I need a bald
Yeah.
looking dude who's just going to look like a nerd and scream into the microphone. That's what I need when I'm depressed. No, I go full Bridget Jones's Diary when I'm depressed. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
so it does, like, again, it's clutching at straws to give people a reason to not focus on what really happened. It's wild. It really
Well,
is
and
wild.
it's so believable. And just like the Britney Spears thing, once the public has that image, there's no way to unconvince them. Most people are going to accept that at face value. They're going to be like, oh, okay. Like they were depressed. They couldn't handle the fame anymore. They've been depressed their whole lives. It makes sense. Sure. Okay. Oh, and they had some like Ativan. I don't even really know what Ativan is, but the other thing that I always find interesting is how these people overdose or are so affected by these everyday prescription medications. Like I know that some of them can certainly incapacitate you, but the ones that I always hear about do not seem like those kind of drugs. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And Ativan is specifically, I have no idea what. Yeah, yeah, here we go. What is this? It's a benzo, so I guess it would make you a little bit drowsy. But like I said, in the toxicology report, which thank God we actually had it, it said that he had therapeutic levels in his system. And then same with Avicii. Avicii was also sober when he died because he had had a long history of drinking problems throughout his career because he
I
was
think
pushed so hard. And so he was considered sober, but then when he died, supposedly he used a wine bottle, just smashed it, and then just went to town on himself, I guess. Like, which seems like the most barbaric thing ever for one of the most timid, humble, sweet individuals. Like, it just seems crazy for me to think of Tim Bergling smashing a glass bottle, a wine bottle. And they also found, I think they found a beer bottle in the room where he was at. And yet again, nobody really talked about how he was relapsing. Some of the pictures that he has when he was in Oman, he had drinks in his hand, and we don't know if it was alcoholic or not, but they certainly looked like alcoholic beverages. And he was in a setting that you would imagine you would be drinking. So I thought that was really strange, and I just could not understand what Avicii was doing in Oman. It just seemed like a really, I mean, maybe
We're
it's a good
gonna,
vacation spot. I really don't know, but
yeah.
that was a really strange piece of everything. And then he was found, the reports were all different. Some said a hotel, but then it was officially said that he was at this Oman, like royal sultan's house or something. Like he was staying in the farmhouse or the guest house at this sultan's place. Super strange. Like what was he doing
Well,
there?
listen, we're not going to go into it right now, but once you're done with this section, we're going to circle back to Avicii, and I'm going to put a theory in your head that might explain a few of these
I'm
points to you.
open to it because out of all of them, Avicii's was the most mysterious. Like, he had every reason to want to leave, but he also had a bunch of reasons not to. But of anybody, I feel like he would be the most likely to fake his death and just disappear. That's my kind of theory, but I don't know. There's so much that's up in the air with his. So I'd be curious to hear what you have to say.
Well, you got to ask yourself, out of all the people you're investigating, which one of them came out of nowhere, rose to fame exponentially, okay? Out of nowhere, bro.
Yeah,
One
literally
day,
out of nowhere.
no Avicii. The next day, the most famous DJ in the world, okay?
Yeah, and DJs weren't even famous like that. Like, there was only a few of them that were famous, like David Guetta and like Tiesto. There's like 4 DJs that were on that level.
Just ask yourself, out of all of these people, who's the one that stands out for where the hell their career came from, instant fame, all of it, right? I believe Avicii was part of the 27 Club, right? Which is the same thing that Amy Winehouse was part of, and all of this. And you come to your 27th birthday, okay, and you are born into this. You are a little baby on an altar, and then 13 years later, you witness another ritual that is horrific, and you have to then, at the age of 27, decide if you're giving over a family member. Everyone think back to Kanye West and his mother, okay? You have to give over Jimi Hendrix too, yep. You have to give over a family member, or you have to unalive yourself. And I believe that is Avicii's legacy, because he's the only one out of that group that came out of nowhere and fits the Club 27 profile. If anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to put up a reference here, and it's interesting how many other people are on this list.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Well, and there was one guy that I just learned about recently that I didn't know anything about, and maybe you know a little bit more about him, but that's why can't I think of his name? He's an 80s artist, and he has so many ties to so many people. Damn, now I can't think of his name.
That's right. Well, look, before we delve into this, before we delve into that, circle back and let's finish off the point about the unusual parts of the deaths, if there's anything else left in that, because this is one I want to give some attention to before the show ends, because I think this is going to be a path that's going to really pull a lot of your stuff together. As to, if somebody like Avicii's involved, I want you to start looking at timelines of when certain players got involved with certain things, and the significance of someone that size legitimizing something like this, and the possibility of them being used to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a good place to go. That dude's name was Basquiat, by the way, I remembered. Okay. But with Avicii, he was probably the last one to really have any like big mainstream. I don't know. He had that For a Better Day video, which was,
yeah.
I mean, if you guys haven't watched the For a Better Day video, it almost makes you cry. It's kind of intense, and the imagery in that video is intense. And for him to have such a, and that was one of his first videos he directed on his own. Tim Bergling directed that shit,
Yep.
so that vision was his vision. So I don't know. You just don't think of Tim Bergling having that dark of a vision unless he's personally experienced something like that. Or I really don't know. That's the only way I could think of it was, and especially at the end when you see that Avicii himself and some other girl, they were the kids that were trafficked that are taking revenge on all these traffickers throughout the video.
Yep.
So it was kind of interesting that he had himself in it, which if there's any sort of metaphor to music videos, which there always is, then you'd imagine that he's probably either saying that this happened to him, maybe not quite this exact story, but using himself, like maybe somehow this happened to him. Somehow he has experience with this. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And he started donating tons and tons of money to, like, he was an amazing dude. Like, if you guys don't like Avicii because of his music, you at least have to like him because of who he was as a human being. He literally made like $19 million on a tour, and he donated it all because he said he has
because he knew he would not make it past 27, bro. Okay.
Probably, honestly,
just
you're
think
right.
about, just actually think about it for a second. He is the one dude where all of the 27 Club algorithm falls into place. And
that's actually very true. And I honestly have never heard that theory about the 27 Club. That's a very good theory because have you seen the movie the Dr. Parnassus movie with Heath Ledger? It's what is it called? The name is something with Dr. Parnassus. But in the movie, he made a deal with the devil where he can achieve like riches and fame and whatever, but he has to give up his firstborn daughter when she's 16. And then at the end of the movie is him trying to get out of that deal by like beating the devil in this game of harnessing souls. And he's trying to harness them for good, and obviously the devil's for bad. But basically at the end of it, he still has to give up another soul to save his daughter somehow.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting because that's like the whole premise of the movie is he basically gave up somebody else's. You either sign yourself off or somebody else.
Yeah, 100%.
To achieve whatever you want. Yeah.
And then sleep like a baby, bro. Right? Then just sleep like a baby with no regrets. Listen, what I want you to do, can you just promote yourself for 2 minutes while I quickly run to the kitchen? I need to go and grab something very quickly. Just promote your channel and I will be right back. And then we're going to pick up exactly where we left off. Let me just get your channel up on the right page here. Here we go.
Hell yeah, I can promote my channel. If you guys haven't heard of me, my name's Nick. I go by DJ Petrovsky. It's actually my DJ name. I don't DJ as much anymore. Sometimes I go live and we just throw like little dance parties, me and my brother. But yeah, so I started this channel when I don't know, I wanted to give back to the sober community somehow. I was on TikTok before and I was doing sober content on there, talking about the reasons why I'm sober, kind of like funny things about being a drunk asshole and reasons why that convinced me to be sober. So I've always had a push to I don't really do the AA program, but I've always had a push. The next step where I would be in the AA program would be to give back and help other people in the program or other people that need help. And I figured I have a way better chance of influencing more people online. And so I started just talking about sober help stuff, but I just wasn't really interested in that. I didn't like the videos and I was like, if I don't like them, nobody else is going to. But all I did was watch true crime and conspiracy stuff on YouTube like all the time in my personal life. So I was like, well, maybe I can incorporate crime into like maybe a story every week where I talk about somebody's tragic story of addiction. And that has truly morphed over time, obviously. But you find that in most crime stories, there is always an addiction piece. Somebody has a problem with something, and that usually is what leads to crimes, especially crazy, tragic ones happening. Yeah. So that really got me off the ground. I started doing this in, I think, June of last year. So it's been a little bit over a year and a half now. And it's been growing like crazy. We've hit a little bit of a lull, but I don't know. You know how it is, just navigating YouTube.
Navigating that algorithm, mate. It's the matrix bullet dodge that we all have to do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I did a bunch of videos on Diddy that did really well, and that kind of sent me in one trajectory. And now I've gotten to a place where I still investigate stories that are based around addiction in some way. And then I try to, I don't know, I pride myself on just digging really deep and finding information that even if
Yeah.
you are a diehard Chester Bennington fan or a diehard Britney Spears fan, and you think you know everything there is to know about that person, I still want to surprise you with something new. And so
Yeah.
that's been kind of my, I don't know, that's just how I've been kind of operating. And
No, it
every week I
sounds.
just kind of find what inspires me. Sometimes somebody will die, something happens or whatever, and like the Charlie Kirk stuff popped up, so I talked about that. But I try to just stay current, stay relevant, and talk about
Yeah.
stuff that I feel like has some sort of interest.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you for going through your journey there for us, Nick. And make sure you do subscribe to Nick. His links are down in the description. Now, getting back to our story, and you were touching on Avicii. You've covered the suspiciousness of all these deaths. I mean, let's just recap here. We've got a bunch of individuals who have came forward to stand against elitists and child transportation
Mhm.
vocally in an organization, who have all subsequently unalived themselves with little explanation out of the blue. We have one individual in Avicii who seems to be the one that fits the possible 27 club, and it's all sort of putting together a narrative where this could have been an under the table job to get these people together. Okay, yeah, sorry, whatever. Can we circle back to the feet on the floor? Apparently, I interrupted you and angered whatever here. So, if we can circle back to the point that you were talking about when Chester was found in the room with his feet on the floor. And apologies, everybody. If you if you
Well,
if you wouldn't
for what it's worth, I'm bad about interrupting too, and I don't feel like you are, but I can certainly circle back to the feet on the floor thing. I found that to be really weird. Every single one of them were found with their feet on the floor. If you watch my Chris Cornell video, I think it's in the one I have up, not the members only one, but there's an actual guy who did a demonstration of how he would have done this, and his feet were on the floor. He was sitting against the doorway, and they actually show that he used an exercise band, which is a whole nother topic in and of itself. But this exercise band, number one, was rated for 100 pounds, maybe 120. You'd imagine it would have snapped in half if it had a 180-pound Chris Cornell dangling from it. Maybe not, but it would at least look stretched out, and it would probably not hold him very well. That would be my assumption. But the video shows that he would have been basically sitting on the floor, and it wouldn't really have done much to actually like suffocate him that way because he's so tall. And the more likely scenario would he'd have to like sit forward, like lean on his knees, leaning forward to do it, which is even worse. Like then you can just sit up, and the band is actually pulling you that way. So it honestly would be easier to like just sit up and not pass away from that. So the video that I had watched made it very, I don't know, believable that this band was actually pulled over the door by a second person, and that's how they got enough tension, because on its own, if you put that band the way it's meant to be wedged between the door, it would only hold his neck upwards and it'd maybe restrict his breathing a little bit. And then they also found like scratch marks on his neck, which wouldn't come from a rubber band. That's coming from him trying to regulate his airway, trying to pull this band off, which means he wasn't doing it to himself, in my opinion. Either that or he was trying to do it to himself and then changed his mind and was trying to get it off. But if his feet were on the floor and he had his hands free to be able to scratch himself like that, he could stand up easy. And the same thing for Chester Bennington. Um, he was found with his feet on the floor. He had used a belt, a black leather belt, and that just seems really weird to me. I don't even know how you'd really do that, but his feet were on the floor, so he must have tied himself to a doorknob because belts aren't that long, I don't feel like. And yet again, he could have just stood up. It would have been very easy for him to have stood up. Robin Williams is another example. Same thing happened with him, although his story is a lot different. And then Kate Spade, I don't know exactly how Kate Spade was found. They didn't discuss it, but she used a red scarf. And I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but this string of unalivings or self exits has been labeled the red scarf murder, or red scarf murders, because Kate Spade used a red scarf. Chris Cornell's was the most interesting to me. First of all, Chris Cornell said in an interview he doesn't work out when he's on tour. He's always so tired from his performances that when he finishes a night, he leaves everything he has on stage for his fans, which number one, I thought was hella cool of Chris. Like he is a performer, he loves his fans, and he leaves it all on stage. So he does not work out while he's on tour. But then when he is found in his hotel room, he has 3 different exercise bands. There's a blue one, a green one, and a red one. Now, one could argue the red one has the highest weight bearing capacity, like it's a 100-pound weighted band. The other ones were like 80 and then like 60 or something. So one could argue that's why he used that one, but it was also red, the one that he used. So I found that to be really interesting. Of the 3 exercise bands that really shouldn't even have been in his hotel room in the first place, because he doesn't work out on tour, the red one was used out of the 3, and the other 2 exercise bands were just left on the bed in plain view, like he just had them. So I found that to be really weird. And then I was actually looking into it. I couldn't find like a picture of the what are they called, the robes at the hotel where Anthony Bourdain died, but apparently it was a robe belt that he used. And if sometimes those robes are not white, most of the time they are, but sometimes they're like a maroon color or a red color. So I was trying to figure out if it was red, but Chester used a black belt, so it didn't all follow, but black, red, I feel like they all might have their own specific meanings. They might all have their own specific something behind it.
Yeah.
But I thought that was all kind of interesting about the similarities.
Yeah, I googled the red scarf murders or whatever it was you said. 12 people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I've only covered a few of them, but it's definitely a lot of them. And I don't remember what the specific meaning is, but it has something to do with like talking about something, like exposing secrets of some sort. And it's like a warning to others to not say anything.
Well,
so
the color red pops up a lot. I mean, we just seen the bracelets, first of all.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of that.
There's a certain item of clothing that you wear on your feet that comes in that color that has a conspiracy. There's a lot of oddities popping up.
Well, in the robes, don't they do red robes?
Yeah, it could be, but there's a prevalence to colors. And this was the painting of the king that he commissioned for his royal portrait. I'm not being funny. If you close your eyes and I say, imagine a royal portrait, you're going to think of some like oil painting of someone standing there, regal, all of it. This is what, with a monarch butterfly. With
crazy.
A monarch butterfly. Nothing, no interlocking hidden messages there at all.
In extreme detail too, yeah.
Yeah. Now, just going back to the feet on the floor and all of the similarities with this, where do you land on this? Because it seems like I would be interested to see if we took the 12 people on that list. We'll have most of the people that are from the Silent Children are on that list. So what is the connection to the rest of them? How do they tap in to this? What's the route to them? Because I imagine some people will have told some people about some things in case some things happen to them. And it's possible that they had to be cleaned up as well, if that makes sense. So, I mean, again, you did say you haven't looked into all 12 of them, but I imagine you will. So that's something that we'll need to follow up on for sure. Now, is there anything else covering the unalivens of the people on this list that you haven't covered that you want to reiterate or you want to recap on it all? On this one.
Well, when I was looking into everything, I was trying to look for like what's the common denominator here. And the Silent Children project was not in fact the common denominator, but it was a good reason to dive into the whole. And there was not a whole lot of proof to say one way or the other that they were or were not involved with it. But the one common denominator I found with every single last one of these people was their connection with the Clintons. And I know that you kind of wanted to bring that up anyways, so I feel like that might be a good segue to it. But every single one of them had some sort of interaction with or ties to the Clintons, the Clinton Foundation. I mean, with very, very close ties, Chester Bennington, and more so Mike Shinoda. they started the Sustainable Recycling Solutions down in Haiti for after the earthquake, and they were running low on funds, and the Clinton Foundation actually came in and gave them a grant and bailed them out. And then Bill Clinton went down there. There's tons of pictures with him and the guys from Lincoln Park doing this like Haiti stuff. And so who knows what they all heard. Same thing with Chris Cornell. He had done things down in Haiti and in other places as well that were involved with the Clintons. And then most of you guys have probably seen the tweets that Anthony Bourdain put out talking about how he has information that would put Hillary behind bars, and he was notoriously
talk about
against
that
her.
before I segue in with my part. But just talk a little bit about those texts, if you can.
Yeah, he had tweeted a bunch of stuff because Asia Argento was his girlfriend at the time, and she was actually one of the whistleblowers in the Me Too movement, and she spoke out against Harvey Weinstein. And Harvey Weinstein had donated tons and tons of money to the Clinton Foundation. And immediately, that was like very, very shortly before he got exposed as doing all the things that he was doing. Although he has, as of lately, I've heard that he's been beating all these charges, so I don't really know what to think about it. But anyways, he had donated tons of money to the Clinton Foundation and their campaign and everything going on. And everybody was saying he needed to take that money back, but he never did. He never took his money back from the Clinton Foundation. Or no, I think it was the other way around. My bad. They had donated tons. They had taken a bunch of money from Weinstein, and so they were saying they need to give it back to him because they shouldn't be taking money from this guy. And Anthony Bourdain was hugely outspoken about it. Like, how can you take money from this awful person? And he was doing everything he could to smear Harvey Weinstein at the time because of Asia Argento being his girlfriend, and he was standing up for her. And then he was just harping on this whole thing that he was involved with the Clintons. He was just making really weird tweets. I don't remember all of the other ones he made. He said something about like, let's just assume for a minute that Hillary Clinton is of Satan's consort and eats babies or something like that. It was like a really long tweet about it. And then he said something about in what way is Mikey Cohen, which was Trump's like fixer or whatever, not a problem, something like that. It was really weird. And it was definitely referencing Hillary and John Podesta and talking about her eating babies and being involved in Satan occult stuff. And then literally that was the same day that Kate Spade had died was the day he posted those things. And then, which was really weird because she died 3 days before he died, I'm pretty sure. And the tweets that he had made were on the day that she died about the Clintons. And I'm pretty sure, I can't remember the exact ties, but when Kate Spade passed away, she also had ties with the Clintons because all of the Clinton daughters and Hillary, they all repped Kate Spade bags, and they made public statements when she died. Like the same day that she died, they made huge public statements about it and talked about how they loved her bags. And they also, the company Kate Spade was not even her company anymore. She had sold that and the rights to the name. So Kate Spade was operating under like corporate. It was a big corporation that owned it now. And they might have been getting involved. There was a lot of reports saying that they were getting their labor from like third world countries using cheap fabrics, paying children to make these things.
100%.
And if Kate Spade found out about that stuff, one of the places that they were having these things made, according to some people, was in Haiti. And it was during the same time frame when they were trying to rebuild Haiti after the earthquakes. So yet again, there's another tie between Kate Spade. And I think Kate Spade even donated money to the Haiti Relief and the Clinton Foundation for what they were doing down there. Although that wasn't Kate Spade herself, that was the company. But if they were donating money to the Clinton Foundation and the Haiti Relief stuff, it seems like they might have more ties with the Clintons than they are representing. And Kate Spade, who used to own the company, might have found that out. So that was the common denominator. And so I feel like the Clintons, hashtag Clinton body count, like have something to do with it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Haiti. All right. Let's talk a little bit about saviors, and let's talk a little bit about friends and members of the Clinton cabinet who were arrested in Haiti for trying to traffic 33 children out of Haiti. Now, I'm sorry, what, mate? Like, this is an individual who worked with the Clintons. She was part of the team to work with the relief fund in Haiti. And for you to decide that you're just going to nab 33 children and leg it with them, when clearly 8 of the 10 individuals who were part of this, by the way, didn't face any jail, no problems whatsoever. I imagine a certain political family stepped in to see to that. But this is a direct, like, shining star on the theory I have about earthquakes in third world countries are the greatest gift to these monsters. You've got so many children whose families and are gone in the displacement that happens. And the Clintons have a long history, allegedly, of being tied in with conspiracies that talk about children. Now, have you seen this woman's face in your research?
Yeah, isn't that Marina?
That is Marina. Now, Marina Abramovich, in my humble opinion, is a high priestess of incredibly dark occultist practices.
Yeah.
She looks very much like, you know, an angry matron or like a headmistress or something like that. And that's by design. She's an artist, and she is a serious individual when it comes to Hollywood. This is just my opinion, but she, I believe, is at the center of a lot of this. And there's one other person. Have you ever seen this lovely face?
No, I don't think so.
This is Michelle Lamy. You know, you'll see her with Rihanna. You'll see her with Gaga. You'll see her with any of these Hollywood music industry people that like fashion. She is a fashion icon, Michelle Lamy. She is married to Rick Owens, who's another fashion designer. Their clothes are mental. No one would wear their clothes. It's bonkers, right?
Yeah.
But she has been asked multiple times if she would say, you know, hail Jesus or praise God or something that, you know, the Jesus crew would see as a Jesus thing to say. And she turned around and said that God is, now we're not going to say this word, but I'm going to spell it, okay? And then you're not going to say it out loud once I've spelled it, okay? But it's B-A-L-E, okay? And that is a very old, dark demonic force, okay? And this is what they're pushing, okay? This is what they're pushing as normal. This is how these people walk around. But there's a clear difference between Marina, who's the higher priestess, and Michelle, who is very much the poster child for, hey, I'm the one to talk to if you're into some darkness. Over here. You can see that. And it's a wild rabbit hole. The Clintons tie in with the Podestas, who tie in with Marina Abramovich, and I need to tiptoe carefully here. Yes, thank you, Deborah. That is how it's actually spelled. Okay, but Ron can't spell. It's B-A-A-L. Okay, because Ron's got problems. Now, Marina and the Clintons and the whole story of those two blew up a few years ago. Isaac Cappy, Hollywood, everyone was sucked into it. And anytime she pops up or Michelle Lamy pops up or the Clintons are involved in anything, you're not wrong to assume that this is massive and it goes deep. You've only got to look at, hang on a second, for some reason my AI assistant on my phone has just started listening to me.
Of course it is.
Right. Now, if you, hang on, if you were friends with someone like, you know, Jeffrey Epstein, right? And you were such good friends with him that when his island was raided, this painting was found of Bill Clinton, right? Now, there's some fine details here that I'm sure all of you will pick up on. But just imagine how good a friend you and I would have to be, Nick, for a painting of you like this to be in my house, you to be okay with it, and there to be an inside joke that makes that okay. Just how good a friend. I'm thinking lifelong. I'm thinking like we grew up together and we're now in our 40s, right? And this is just in the man cave for banter. But look at the shoes. Look at the shoes. and then remind yourself that this is a former president and a painting that's hanging in Epstein's house.
Well, and they say that that's not Hillary's dress. They say that's Monica Lewinsky's dress with a
They
little
do.
spooge stain there. And one of the things I thought was really weird is that Kabbalah religion, one of the people wearing those red bracelets that is known to be in that religion is Monica Lewinsky. And I didn't even, who thinks about her anymore, really? But yeah, she's totally involved with that whole occult, religious cult, whatever it is.
Yeah. And you got to remember as well, public shaming rituals are a part of this as well. And, you know, there's certain things that happen and then everyone gets away with it that once you add conspiracy to is the only way any of it makes sense. It really is. And
well, and the Bush painting too. I don't know if you're going to bring that one up because it's not Clinton related, but the Bush painting that they found in his house with him throwing the paper airplanes. Have you seen that one? Oh, you got to see that one if you haven't seen that one, Ron. That one's crazy, especially because I'm such a 9/11 nut. Like I'll 9/11 has captivated me for years.
Okay,
that's
well,
really where I got my start into the whole conspiracy side of life. That's what got me red pilled was 9/11.
Okay, so I'm not being funny. I've never seen this painting, and
before I'm so glad I could share it with you.
Before I show this, everyone just get ready to take in the finer details here, okay? Because that is mad. If that is real, and this is genuine,
at the Jenga towers,
dude. If this is real, you've got 2 fallen towers, okay? A paper plane that's crashed into a tower, and then this goblin here with this.
He is a goblin.
Could we argue similar art styles in the face?
Oh, it almost seems like the same artist for sure. It makes me wonder who did this.
Yeah, and like I say, if this is, I don't know if this is real, okay? I've never seen this before, so I'm going to put a big question mark on this. But if that is genuine, that is bonkers.
When I saw the Clinton one, it was accompanied by that Bush one on X one day, and my brother actually sent it to me. I was like, "Oh shit!" He follows 9/11 stuff closer than I do, so as soon
they're
as
smart enough now, Nick. They're smart enough now, Nick, to take a real picture like the one of the Clintons in the blue dress, create fake ones to put in with that on Twitter, so that people that share and promote that, as long as they've got 2 images that are fake and one that's real, they can convince everyone that you're crazy and that you believed a myth. It's a tactic that's usable. It is it's so well used, and I've seen people for years use Middle Eastern footage of children being battered to reframe it as people in this country that are doing it, or it's what's been allowed by this regime or whatever. It's the same thing being recycled and used as propaganda, and it's crazy.
Yeah. No, you're totally right about that. And like, which one's like 2 truths and a lie? Like, which one's the lie, you know? But it's easy way for you not to be able to figure it out.
Well, they don't care if you figure it out. They know you've figured it out. They just want you to share and put information out there that can be discredited at a later date. Because if they discredit 60% of what you're saying, you're done.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
You know? So, but look, let's just put in perspective this year. Let's talk a little bit about what's gone on with the covering up of major blackmail. Okay, with Epstein, with Diddy, the tapes, all of this stuff that was allegedly there has now gone. And for me, the fact that Virginia Giuffre ended her life this year, and then we
had some insider info on that too, Ron, that I haven't shared yet with anybody. I don't really have a full video for it, but I had somebody contact me and gave me some really interesting insider info about what happened to her. And because yet again, Virginia Giuffre's last time we talked, that Paul Myhill guy from the Silent Children lives 20 minutes away from me. Virginia Giuffre's stepbrother or stepbrother, because I think she was adopted, maybe. Can't remember.
Okay.
But half-brother or stepbrother lives in my city, went to a rivalry high school of mine, super weird. And he is the guy that they say was in the house when Virginia passed away, because after her whole bus accident, she had family members checking on her, watching her, and he flew down there. And I was trying to get a hold of him to ask him, is this true or not? And I tried to bond with him like, yo, dude, we're neighbors. I literally live in the same city. Like, I went to Widefield High School, blah, blah, blah. And he read all my messages, added me on Facebook, and didn't respond at all. So that was really weird. But I got confirmation from an inside source that he was, in fact, at the house. And he took an hour to go to the store leave completely. And when he came back, that's when he found her with a bag over her head. And that's
Okay.
how she self-exited, is what I was told.
Okay. So the minute that text was that Instagram post went out of Virginia saying that she'd been hit by a bus and she was in hospital, I jumped on this and sadly predicted every part of this outcome. For a start, there was no bus accident. Okay. Second of all, she was never in hospital. Are you telling me that Virginia Giuffre is in hospital and not one YouTuber, not one news reporter, not one anything seen her enter or exit it? No way, not buying it. Then we get two photographs of her buying feed for her farm out of the blue. Okay. No more proof. There's no proof of life of Virginia Giuffre from October last year. Okay, that's the last time that my contacts who were in direct conversation with her can have what I class as proof of life, which is a video call or a voice conversation where you're asking questions and they're answering with detail. It's not like they're ranting and you can't interrupt them. And what happened later on this year? The Epstein files disappear. Prince Andrew's stripped of all of his titles and there's more coming out about him. And the one key witness is no longer here.
Yep.
What?
She's no longer here. And to add to that, she was staying at that farmhouse, which was kind of off the grid a little bit, which was like an hour and a half away from where her husband and the kids were staying. And everybody was saying, well, they got into this huge fight. She was saying that he was abusive. So she left and separated from him and stayed in the farmhouse. But why would she let the kids stay with him if he was being abusive to her? She wasn't letting the kids stay with him because she was abusive. She was letting the kids stay with him because she knew something was going to happen to her. Because somebody else, another whistleblower, had died like a week prior to her dying too. I can't remember who it was. It was another Epstein whistleblower.
I agree and disagree with you on the kids, right? I'm not even going to go into what I think the custody thing is to do with, right? But I can tell you this now. Virginia Giuffre feeling like her husband was abusing her after the abuse she went through at the start of her life, her getting through that is nothing compared to what she went through. And then for her to go, do you know what? My kids don't need a mother, is mind-blowing to me. The fact that we knew that she was in contact with other women who were survivors of this, there was something brewing. But my God, was she not just the biggest loose end ever? You know,
100%. Yeah. I mean, she was just in that Netflix documentary. She wasn't shutting up. She had spent pretty much since she got out of that situation, she's been speaking out about it and encouraging other victims to speak out about it. So it's not even just her that's now a loose end. She's bringing up new loose ends for these guys to deal with. So she was a major one, definitely a major one. And unfortunately, when that happened, my girl told me the thing about the bus accident. And then I don't even know, that was like a month later, maybe 2 weeks later. And then she's like, yeah, somebody asked if I saw the stuff about Virginia. And I was like, oh yeah, the bus accident. And they're like, no, she died. And I was like, I honestly was kind of waiting for that to happen. Just like you said, like something was weird with that right away.
100%. Now, there was an interview with the bus driver, right?
Oh yeah, and that was a weird interview too.
Now, he said there was only one person in the car and the vehicle collision was so minor they never even bothered exchanging information. He was a former EMT, and as a former EMT, you have a heightened sense of accountability when it comes to even a minor accident. And you know yourself, you are scanning to see if there's a kid or a pet or a passenger in that car. He said there was one person. I believe him. The only reason he came forward was they were saying it was a major accident and he thought it was going to be an insurance claim. So I tend to believe the wild cards in this, okay? And that bus driver definitely was either on the Illuminati payroll and done a terrible job, okay, completely terrible job of contacting the press, or he was a legitimate human being who was trying to be framed into something. None of it really makes sense, but I'll tell you this right now. The official story on Virginia Giuffre does not land with me whatsoever. Everything's too convenient. In fact, the whole thing felt like a panic rush, as if last year they found out something was going to come to light this year, and then they went into panic mode. But I think, sadly, they took her and they had her for a while before she was declared the official story, if I'm being honest.
I think you're right. Well, and the other thing that I learned from that source was that her brother had told the lady that got into that accident was actually Virginia Giuffre's farmhand helper or whatever. She took care of like the
Correct.
farm,
Yep.
the farmhouse. They had told her to take the day off, the day that she died. And he's like, well, I'm here. We don't need you here. Like, I'll make sure she's good. So if that's the case, I would feel obligated to not leave the house at all, or if I really needed to go to the store, bring her with me or send somebody else,
Yep.
but send the farmhouse attendant chick. But no, he sent her home for the day, sent her home completely, leaving everything
Yep.
completely open. And then he disappears for, he says, a quick trip to the store, but he was gone for over an hour, which is plenty of time for them to do whatever they want with her.
Oh,
And
she was
that's
not
just
there,
what I
bro.
was told.
This,
It could
this,
have been
this,
longer than that.
this is another thing, Nick, right? Your mindset there, they had plenty of time to do what they wanted. She was already gone. She was never there. That farmhouse lady may have received messages saying, "Oh, it's Virginia. Can we please do this? Can we please do that?" I'm telling you, bro, there was
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
alive Virginia Giuffre. They may have set everything up that day or whatever, but there's no way in hell we have had any proof of life for so long. And Virginia Giuffre's father on the Piers Morgan show said that there's absolutely nothing that stood out about his daughter wanting to take her own life. I'll tell you something else. This is totally my ADHD going crazy. I want you to ask yourself how many other people on the list of the silent children gave away all their money, and then I want you to go and have a look at common things that people who know they're going to unalive themselves do before they unalive themselves. And top of the list is give away all their stuff.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. That's what I would
So
do. Be like, hey, I want you to have this.
you might want to move Avicii over into the grey area of what side he was on. It doesn't mean towards the end he wasn't on the right side, but he definitely seen some stuff growing up, bro.
Oh yeah. Well, oh, and I did find this out. This is something new as of this year. I think it was June 2025. Sweden just passed a law banning all inter-country adoptions because they admitted themselves that their adoptions that were going outside of Sweden basically where I think it was the prime minister literally said verbatim that a lot of them led to instances of child trafficking,
Right?
and so they stopped all adoptions from anywhere outside of Sweden. And so this has been going on for a while, and it was such a mainstream problem they had to literally shut it down completely. And so that could be one of the things that Avicii was hip to,
Do you
because
know?
there's a big push in, it's called like Radio Jalpen or something like that. It's a Swedish name, but they're a huge child exploitation organization in Sweden, and they
Yeah.
do stuff all over the world. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't realize Sweden had such a huge problem,
Do you know?
and that's
Do you know
of
what I
course
think
where
is
Avicii's
interesting?
from.
I think it's really interesting when a country goes so hard on a situation like that. Do you know what it says to me? They're covering up the corruption.
Yeah, they're covering something up.
Because I'm sorry, most of the children adopted to foreign nationals from Sweden end up being trafficked. If there's not an inside corruption that is being covered up, I don't know what is. I don't know what
Yep.
is.
Yep. And it was also part of that's because they know that the other piece of that is it was going in and out. So people that were in these third world countries, say they're in Haiti gathering all these kids, they find places that do these adoptions from other countries. And that's where they're sending these kids under the guise that it's a legitimate adoption, but they're going to some family in Sweden that may be involved in trafficking, and it's not even a real family or whatever. So it was all just a huge scam, basically.
Yeah. And the common man finds it hard to imagine this anyway. So it's a lot easier to imagine places like Haiti, third world nations, all this taking place. But places like Sweden, Germany, America, the UK, all of these places are massively up the list. But for some reason, people assume we're at the forefront of stopping it all. It's
I know,
wild.
right?
It's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. Yeah, it's definitely an international problem. Like, I think that's why it's so profitable, because it
Yeah.
is successful everywhere.
Okay, listen, I want you guys to get in all of your questions. For Nick and myself, I've got a bunch here, and we're going to start going through them all. I just want to say to everybody, it's nice to have a conversation with Nick. Nick did say before the show that he likes having a bit of a chitty chat. I know people like me shutting up, so I'm just letting you know. Sometimes the guest wants to have a little chitty chat. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I like what you have to say, Ron, because you, like I said, you know stuff I don't know. I know some stuff you don't know, and together we can come up with some interesting new theories and ideas, and I like it. I love it.
Yeah, the problem is, I think a lot of people have heard me say the things I'm saying about 4,000 times, and they're just like, "Right, Ron, shut up, new perspective." But you know, it's we've got to have a little bit of balance, right? So let's go into
driving it home, man. We're just really driving it home.
We're just two guys on the internet, just trying to take it day by day, my G. Like and subscribe as well, everybody, just before we get into this next section. Like and share. Make sure you put 3 Qs at the start of your question and a question mark at the end of it. I will get them collated. We'll get through as many as we can. Shaun will be live at the top of the hour in 35 minutes, and we'll be going up until then. So, Nick, what it's because the guy's name is Sam on the page there. My brain tricked me. What do you know about Sam Lutfi? He was Britney's constant companion back during her off the rails days, pre-conservatorship, and word he is worming his way back into her life. I butchered that.
Yeah, no, Sam Lutfi's super interesting. The guy is, in my opinion, a straight up enigma. He kind of like Lou Taylor. He tries to weasel his way into all these people. He did the same thing with Lindsay Lohan. He tried to be her like unofficial manager when she was going through all those DUIs and everything. The guy from Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland, when he went through all of his nonsense, he tried to weasel his way in to like be his manager. And then of course, like you said, Britney Spears, he was like her number one companion. He said he was her manager. He said they weren't romantic with each other. He was just there to like protect her, be a listening ear, because she had no friends and she had to fire all of her staff because she couldn't trust anybody. And to be honest, I didn't really like Sam Lutfi until I saw how much he was helping Britney. But at the same time, I don't think his intentions with Britney were pure, because the only other time I've known about Sam Lutfi was from my Kurt Cobain case. And I was talking about Kurt Cobain had given his daughter, Frances Bean, his famous MTV Unplugged acoustic guitar. When her and this guy, Isaiah Silva, got married, she gifted that guitar to him as a wedding gift. And so he had that guitar when they got divorced, and she didn't ask for it back because it was a gift. So Courtney Love was pissed that he had this guitar. She wanted the guitar to stay in their family. And to be fair, it was worth like $6 million. I think they auctioned it off for $6 million. But she hired Sam Lutfi and 2 other guys to go to Isaiah Silva's house, kidnap this fool. He believes, honestly, if they would have successfully kidnapped him, they were going to kill him. But he had a friend over at the house at the time, and his friend went to the bathroom when they busted into the house and basically kidnapped him and threw him in this van. And when his friend came out, he saw what was happening, and he jumped in a car and pulled it in front of the gates and called the cops so that they couldn't leave. And I'm surprised they didn't just kill that dude, but that was what saved him. The cops showed up, and basically Sam Lutfi got charged with a couple charges of like kidnapping, assault, all this other stuff. But their goal was to steal that guitar back. And Courtney Love doesn't really like Sam Lutfi because he's also been involved in like screwing her over. But then so I didn't really like him initially. He's already just kind of a shady character. But then recently he just did a new interview this year talking about his experience with Britney, what happened the night that she actually got in like 5150'd, which is what led to the conservatorship. And he has her back like all the way. And he's super nice. He seems super genuine. He seems super honest. Looks aren't everything, of course, but the interview that he did was kind of weird because he hasn't done a single interview. He hasn't talked about anything Britney related since they put the restraining order in place during the conservatorship. He was totally restricted from seeing Britney or anybody with the Spears family because he was helping her and they had to get rid of him somehow. So I don't know. Like, I've always felt really weird about Sam. He says that he's on like doing his own thing, working, doing his own like business. He said he's got a wife and kids now. So I don't really feel like he's trying to weasel his way back in, but I do think he's trying to, I don't know. I think he's trying to be Britney's voice right now because she doesn't still seem to have one. Her online voice is so weird. People are just talking trash about her. And then that whole K-Fed memoir just came out, which talks
Mm.
nothing but trash about her, makes her seem super crazy. So I don't know. I don't know if he's necessarily weaseling his way back in, but he's definitely been more outspoken now than he ever has been. And if you haven't seen those interviews, it's on a channel called Popcorn something.
Planet. Popcorn Planet.
I put it in the link of my video, but the
Yeah,
interviews are really good,
Popcorn
actually.
Planet.
Popcorn Planet, yes, they're
Yeah.
on his channel, and he did
Yeah, no
three.
problem.
It's a 3-part series that are really good. So check them out.
Okay. Here's the next one. Hi, Nick. It's me. Can you tell us who actually owns Britney and
Shane,
her catalog?
that's a good question. So I think, from what I know, the conservatorship, she is financially, she's gotten her life back, and personally, she's gotten her life back, but they still have some control over certain aspects of things. I couldn't really figure out exactly who had what control, but Britney does still own her catalog. Like, I guess, I don't know. The trust of Britney still owns the catalog. I think her dad is still involved with the finances, and that's why she's not technically free. Like, she has control to spend money. She makes money now. It doesn't all go to the Spears family, but they technically own it. And then obviously RCA Records, which would be Sony Entertainment, because they're just a subsidiary. They own distribution rights and copyrights to the music. But yeah, so I don't know actually a whole lot about whether there's any weird like music rights issues going on with Britney, but I would imagine there probably is. And I would be curious, I actually should have looked into this. I'd be curious to know if maybe her dad purchased any music catalogs when he
Mm,
had control over things, but he doesn't seem like the most financially aware
that's
guy, because the only reason Lou Taylor even got involved with the conservatorship was because he got a loan from her of $40,000 to do this whole court case. So he's obvious. You'd think he'd have plenty of money to do that if he controls all of Britney's money,
mm,
but I don't think he necessarily did at that time, maybe, but he was placed in a temporary conservatorship before it was made permanent. So I really don't know, but he obviously didn't have money, and he's not said to be good with money. So I wouldn't
right,
imagine he was investing in stuff like that.
right. Okay, before we get to
Hey,
our next
what's up,
question,
Shane?
if you guys can like and share, push this out. We've got half an hour left here with Nick, and we're going to get as many of your questions done. Now, this may be a bit of a recap from our last show, but how did Bourdain pass away, Nick?
It's a good question. So he was in an argument through text with Asia Argento, and they were kind of on the tail end of it. They had just basically said they weren't going to speak to each other and kind of left it on bad terms. But then he was, according to this memoir, this unofficial, unauthorized biography, anyways, which I think is bullshit, just up front. They say that he was messaging Asia trying to say, like, what can I do to make things right? And what can I do to like fix this? And all she said back was, stop busting my balls. And then after that, he went into this hardcore spiral. People said that he didn't show up for dinner that night. And you know, Anthony Bourdain, that's like what he does. He eats. So for him to skip a meal was really not like him. And he just decided to stay in his hotel room. The next day, he was with a friend and then his crew, because they were filming in France. And he didn't show up for breakfast either. And they thought, okay, well, it was weird for him to be like depressed and not show up for dinner, but it's even weirder for him not to show up for both. So they finally, his friend Eric something went to his room to check on him and found him. He was hanging by his robe belt, like the little cloth robe belt. And I was trying to find where or like what he had used, and they said there was some piece like of the shower. But yet again, like, you know, the bars on a shower that kind of keep the water from going over, it's
Hmm.
like a sliding glass pane or something. They say it was like something like that. But yet again, his feet were on the floor. Like, he wasn't just hanging there. His feet were still touching the ground. So yet again, it was really weird. And that same month, this female activist, I cannot remember her name. It was some French name. She did tons of nude protests, and she was a huge feminist, but she was also a huge activist for female and child exploitation. And she was also found hanging like that same month in France. And that was just kind of an interesting, it's just weird, you know? in the same
Well,
month, both involved with similar things.
it may have been an exchange of information. She may have been an information source or a connection to Bourdain. You never know.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Or anyone,
super crazy.
anyone. Yeah. Next one. Not so much a question, but Clive David. Has he ever popped up in your research? If not, that's a name you want to really, really keep in the back of your mind, because when we talk about the faceless individuals that control everything behind the scenes, he's certainly a stepping stone to all of that.
Oh, yeah. I haven't done a video on Amy yet. She is on my list. She's gonna be, because she's another 27 Club member,
Mm.
and I don't know a whole lot about her. I do know that Clive Davis was, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know, somehow involved because he owns Arista, and then he was involved with Sony. So I don't know. Anybody that is near Clive Davis is probably either already dead or working with him. So yeah, I don't know. Clive Davis is a weird guy, and yet again connected with Diddy, and also the whole Whitney Houston stuff. Like, I don't know. The more I look into different people, they all end up, especially in the music industry, at a certain point, they all worked for Clive Davis, or there's this music distribution company called Primary Wave Music. And the guy that owns that company, I forget his name, but he worked directly underneath Clive Davis with Arista Records for most of his career. And Primary Wave Music, basically all they do is buy up dead artists' music catalogs to distribute and make money. So he's buddy buddy with Clive Davis. He's buddy buddy with all the music companies, record companies, because they typically will share distribution rights, or they'll have distribution rights, and then the mainstream company that owned it before, like Sony, would have the actual copyrights to the originals or whatever. So they would just share finances, and that's how they would take control over different artist catalogs. And they'll buy this out from the families. Like, I think they did it with Courtney Love. They bought out some of Kurt Cobain's catalog. They bought out somebody I just recently talked about too. They bought out, like, there was 6 different splits. I think it was Michael Jackson. They bought out Michael Jackson's family of all of his music catalogs, and tried to basically take all of Sony's music back. And they were successful with half of it. They got half of Michael Jackson's music catalog from Sony that he owned back through Primary Wave Music. So I don't know. Clive Davis is a bad person, and anybody
Mm.
tied to him is not somebody you want to be with.
Super shady. We're
Yeah.
going to continue with the questions. The last 10 minutes, in about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to post a link. If anyone would like to come and ask a question on the show, or give us your point of view, or just say hello, or whatever, feel free to do so. I'll set it up so that you're not actually seen. So your camera, if your camera is on or off, it doesn't matter. You won't be seen. You'll just be heard. Think of it as an old school phone in, and we'll do
That's
that for the
cool.
last 10 minutes. Yeah, honestly,
That's cool. You can
it's
do that.
I love hearing from the community, because again,
Yeah, same.
as YouTubers, like, if we're not listening to the audience, then I mean, who do we actually really work for on here? It's the viewers, right?
Well, and that's how my whole channel went the direction it went. Like, to be honest, and it's kind of embarrassing, I'd never heard of Isaac Cappy before. Like a year ago, one of my
Yep.
subscribers was like,
All
"You
right.
should look into Isaac Cappy," and that's really where things got darker for me. I started going deeper after that, but thanks to my subscribers, I found so many different names of people I didn't know about. They send me videos all the time of, because I mean, they're watching other videos besides ours, and they'll find pieces that might link
Yeah.
with ours all the time. So you're 100% right.
I
Who do you
may
work for?
be able to connect you with some Cappy sources, ex
Hell yeah,
flat
that'd be great.
like ex flatmates and friends and things like that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because it's a mad story, bro. Like,
Oh, it's so wild.
yeah.
And the video I did on it, it was so heavily flagged, and there's no like, the YouTube reasons it flagged it are so stupid. It says that there's a curse word in the video, and it was Cappy during one of
I'll be
his
honest.
videos. It was crazy.
You should start up a Rumble channel, right?
I
Just to
have a
protect
Rumble.
you, just to protect your YouTube. So you would do a 10-minute video talking about the video you've just done on Rumble. If it's to do with Cappy, if it's to do with past offense, if it's to do with anything at all, because most of this is now in the YouTube terms of service that it's QAnon conspiracy, and any sharing of that is against TOS.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes a lot of
And
sense because
they
yeah, there's no
will
way to
get
get those videos
they
approved.
will get you, bro. So if you're going to do that, put that on Rumble and promote it on your channel, if that makes sense, because
That's actually a
they'll
great
get
idea. Never thought of
they'll
that.
get you. Just for the really dangerous stuff, because
Yeah,
they'll freaking get you, bro. Um, just keep
yeah,
it
they definitely will.
algorithmically friendly and playful, and anything mad, you protect your mothership, 100%.
True that.
100%. Now, it was interesting.
Protect the mothership.
I had an interview last week with Professor Cheng, and he spoke about a very ancient individual in the Jewish religion and the whole Jewish story, right? And this guy basically declared that Judaism is a people, it's not a religion. So you could be a Jewish person who's a Christian, right? You could be a Jewish
Yeah.
person who's this. And the more we talked about it, the more we realized that this was a way for a religion to spread secretly. And when
Hmm.
we talk about the conspiracies behind that religion, how they run this and they run that, it's interesting when you apply this ancient philosophy of we're a people, not a faith. And then you look at the red bracelet side of things. Is that a modernization of that mindset where you are now part of the Jewish people, but you are of a different faith? And it's this ancient mindset. And it got quite interesting. So you've not seen that interview between me and Professor Xiang. Go and check that out. He will be back at the start of December. So it's just incredible when you hear from proper historians stuff that starts piecing together all of this modern madness and reasons and cover-ups and
Hmm.
secret societies and all of it. It's wild.
Yeah.
Right, we've got time for a few more
Well, and it's the
questions.
protected people, so you can't say anything about it either. You know,
Mm,
if you're Jewish at all, even if it's not by faith, if it's just by, you're a Jewish people,
yeah.
you still are protected, you know?
Well, no, it's interesting because when we talk about Judaism, we talk about it as a religion. That's what I've been taught to know that it is. But it's the one religion I know nothing about. I couldn't even tell you who the Jewish faith worships. It's it's
Yeah, I
it's
know.
it's weird. It's so, and I'm
Yeah,
not
I
saying
don't
the
really
religion
get
is
it
weird. I'm
either.
saying my lack of passively taking on board knowledge. It's mad. Anyway, so
Yeah, I'm with
important
you on
footage
that.
surfaces of Whitney Houston interrupting a meeting with Clive Davis and Brandy days before she so-called drowned, saying to she almost drowned that day, handed Brandy a note. Wow. That's like a wish.com product listing title. Okay, that for me, there was some struggles there. But I think we can understand what you're saying, right? We can understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I definitely get what she's saying. There was a note that was passed. It's like a weird video. It's super weird. Whitney Houston seems like she might be on something for sure, or like really out of it. I don't know, but we all know that she did die with like white powder in her system, so she was kind of acting like that. But she passed this note to Brandy right in the middle of a Clive Davis interview, and he was with Brandy and I can't remember who else, somebody else, and she passed this weird note to her, and then Brandy opens it up while she's like cutely and trying to like sweetly talk to Clive and maybe distract him from her reading the note. And then she quickly gives that note to like somebody else, but she reads it and she does seem like a little bit weird. And you can hear her saying something about she almost drowned earlier. And so it really has raised a lot of questions as to whether she knew or she was trying to tell other people, like, hey, this almost happened to me. But with how crazy she was acting, people probably just blew it off like, oh, it's just Whitney being crazy. I don't know. But that note, I would absolutely love to know what that note said. I would
Yeah.
love to know that.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Next
As much
question.
as I would love to know what Cappy was talking about in his last video, like on the same level. I would love to know all of those things, but we'll
Dude.
never know.
God damn it. We probably will never.
I
Uh,
know, right?
it just does my head in. Okay, so look, we've got about 13 minutes left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post the link for everybody. If you'd like to come and join us,
Come join us.
come join us.
Yeah, it's super cool. It reminds me of the old school days. Hey, yeah, you're the next
Yeah.
caller.
Do you know what? Because it's the last 12 minutes, even if someone comes on and tries to do something mental, their camera is not shown, first of all, because you ain't going to get me that way.
Hmm. You
And
couldn't do that.
if I do this, right, it should just be a picture of me and then the side chat, right? Now,
Yeah.
they can still hear us. Let me just unmirror this and then put us back to where we were. So it keeps everything safe, and I'm pretty
Yo,
quick.
DJ Villain, what's up, dude?
DJ Villain, hang on a sec.
Yeah, he's one of my loyal guys. He's been around for a
There he is.
while, since I was real little.
What's up? What's up, DJ
Yeah,
Villain?
Solar
Okay.
Flow is awesome. Follow her for sure.
All right, so we do have our first caller in. It is Susan. Susan, are you there?
I am.
What up, Susan?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've just watched V for Vengeance.
V for
Have you seen
Vendetta.
V for Vendetta. Oh God, yeah, V for Vendetta. I was that
Yeah.
excited about it, Ron. I couldn't even tell you. I've never seen it before. My grandson bought it me for my birthday to stream.
Yeah, yep. It is by far one of the greatest movies ever made.
That's what he told me. That's what he told me, and it
And
just
what did you think?
reminded me of what we were talking about on your show. You know, the sort of control of these
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
That, you know, and the mentalness behind what they do.
Well, 100%. Susan, I'm going to just put our cameras back on because I feel like you're a safe bet. So you can keep your camera off, don't worry. But yeah, V for Vendetta. I mean, the control, the banning of music, the banning of religion, the Nazism of the forced religion behind it all. It is a very telling tale of what we feel like we're heading towards, and it is. We're coming up to the 20th anniversary of that movie. Is
Man,
I think
crazy.
I believe the film's coming out next year. So my grandson was saying in the restaurant tonight.
Yeah, I mean it's an old film, like I say, 20 years old, but it's
what
timeless.
my daughter said and was laughing.
Yeah, it's like the Beatles songs, man. You can put on some of them, and you're like, when was this written? It's, they're timeless, you know. And you know, it inspired the entire Guy Fawkes mass movement.
Oh, that is amazing.
Mine's literally over there. I was telling the story the other night about the first ever anonymous mission against Scientology. I was a boots on the ground member. I'm one of the guys that you see in the videos with a mask on, lobbing bread crates back in the day. And it was an incredible movement. We got all the laws changed in Edinburgh regarding Scientology. That made it illegal for them to do their little tests and their thetan tests on the street. It restricted their entire activity to their domain, their property, basically. Right, give me 1 second. I'm just going to get our next caller in, and I just want to make sure I don't do this wrong. So, Pearl, are you also
another piece of the whole? That's another piece of the whole Chester story is the whole Scientology thing with what's her name, Emily, that just replaced him in the band.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and she's a notorious Scientologist. She was standing up for Danny Masterson when he was going through his whole trial and everything. So there's a whole nother conspiracy side of the Chester story based on the Scientology aspect of it, and how Mike Shinoda wanted to replace him with a girl, and how they say Mike Shinoda might have been the quote unquote Uber driver that called 911 when they found Chester, which is kind of weird. It does sound
wild.
like him.
That is
Sorry,
wild.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's okay. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure we're doing this right. Susan, you're still with us. Pearl, you're with us. And Angela, you're with us. Pearl, can I come to you next and ask if you've got any questions or a comment you'd like to throw out there?
Hi, Ron. Hi.
Hi, Pearl.
Hello. I wanted to ask, and I know this is probably...
Are you there, Pearl? One second, Pearl. I can't hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're very, very quiet. I'm just trying to boost your mic. Can you just count to 10 for me? No, you've muted yourself now, Angela. No, and she's gone. All right, Pearl, are you there? Maybe that was Pearl I was talking to. Hang on. It was Pearl. Okay, Pearl, we can hear you. You're very quiet, but that's okay. Give us your point.
I just wondered what you thought of Billy Shears.
Billy Shears. Nick, you know Billy Shears?
Actually, no.
No, neither do I.
You got me.
Billy Shears is the guy that's playing Paul McCartney.
Oh, yeah. That is on my list for sure.
Dude,
to talk about.
Pearl.
That's such an interesting one.
Do you know what?
Please.
put a
Yeah.
pin in that because I could go off on a 40-minute rant, but I want to save that because no one, my mum doesn't want to hear it, mate. Right? But
Oh, nor does
that's
my
for another
parents,
night,
so I-
Pearl. That's
Yeah,
for another night, my
please.
G.
Please talk
100%.
about it.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. We're getting a little bit of feedback from you, Pearl, so I'm going to just have to let you go just now. But listen, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your point, and we will definitely
Thanks,
look into
Pearl.
that. It's a wild one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what's your take? Let's just talk about it a little bit just now. Susan, Nick, what's your kind of take? I mean, have you heard the legend about Paul McCartney being unalived and being replaced, and all the signs, Meet at Lesso, the Sergeant Pepper album, all of it? Where do you stand with it? Where do you stand?
Yeah, it's I just recently came across that one. Actually, I posted a short asking if I should cover it, and I definitely plan to. Super interesting. The only piece I really looked into even just a little bit was the famous album cover for Abbey Road, and showing how Paul is the only one wearing no shoes, and that's because he's actually dead. He's in the grave. And then they're all supposed to represent like different people involved with like the sacrifice / burial process. So I thought that was an interesting take for sure. And some of the pictures are kind of convincing. Like you see pictures of Paul, and then you see pictures of this possible Billy Shears guy, and it's
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of convincing. So it's got me at least wanting to look into it. I'm not really sure because I'm not a huge Beatles fan, so I haven't really listened enough to know like if there's albums where he sings in some and then listen to the others where he's supposedly
man.
in somebody
It's
else.
a juicy one, to say the least, though. It's a juicy one, mate.
Yeah.
So it's worth a look in. Susan, are you still with us?
I am.
You heard about any conspiracies with Paul McCartney? You know what we're talking about here? Anyone else who wants to come and join us, please do so. We've got about 5 minutes left, everybody. And then Shaun will be live looking at a new Charlie Kirk theory. I'm live on my channel for members night at 9:30. I'm going to hop on and help Shaun just get set up with the dual streaming format. But Susan, you got anything else you want to say to us? Or if anyone else would like to come and join us, please do so.
No, I haven't heard a lot about this Paul McCartney thing. And being the age I am, big Beatles fan, didn't even think about the barefoot thing that's just been spoke about, and I'm intrigued now, and I'm desperate for at least an hour rant.
I tell you what, I'll give you this before Christmas, so you can all sit around the Christmas table and try and retell this one about Paul McCartney. But Susan has joined us. Are you there, Susan?
I am.
Hello.
I am.
No, it's a second Susan. It's
We got two Susans.
So many Susans.
We're going to call Susan, and then we're going to call the other Susan, Mrs. Furman. Mrs. Furman, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Have you got a question for us or a point you'd like to put across?
It just seems to me that all this has been kept secret for so many years. And why in the heck are people still covering up? And it really upsets me, too, that in the churches, how many of these people have actually done things to little children and then have been covered up by higher ups in the church?
Yep, 100%. There was a huge payout, a landmark payout from the church in California last year. It was in the double-figured millions for all of the abuse that had taken place in their churches that had been proven by the survivors. So again, you know exactly the answer to that, Susan, too. You know exactly the answer. By design, money, power, control, and the cabal's grasp on the rest of us. So it's a sad reckoning, but that's the answer.
Exactly. And we all have to stop giving these people the power.
Yeah, exactly. But it's too deep a conversation for the last 2 minutes of the show, Susan. So you're going to need to come and join us next time. Susan 1 and 2, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for putting your point across. And I'll be doing some more shows where you guys can come and get your point of views on. So thank you so much for being here, both of you. Nick, of course, our main guest, thank you so much. We've got 3 minutes left. We also need to wait for Shaun to start his next live stream. All right, so that might take a couple of minutes. So let's just, oh God, I've broken the live stream now. There we go. Let's just talk a little bit about what you're going to be bringing out next. Like what is next for you, content-wise, and what people can expect popping up on your channel next.
Well, you guys will get a little sneak peek then. I'm planning to talk about Anna Nicole Smith this week. she popped up in my Brittany research quite a bit with a lot of comparisons. And then because of her similarities and her constantly being compared to, as well as her endless love for Marilyn Monroe, I think she's going to be my next one, which might be a real good segue into the JFK stuff. So that's kind of my plan. And I realized that I need to start planning my episodes more in like a group format so that I can kind of cover a few people very similarly related.
Dude,
I think it'll help with the story piece of it. So
you've got your Silent Children series, you've got your Club 27 series. You just label them as that and try and put them on playlists and all that kind of stuff. Because people like bingeable content formats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I actually just started a bunch of playlists recently. So I've got all my musicians in one. I've got all my actors and actresses in one. I've got the 27 Club. Anything related to Diddy is in my Diddy Do It playlist. So yeah, I worked a little harder on getting some playlists set up so it's easier to binge through similar stories that kind of none of them talk about the same thing, but if they do, it's more compounding on that topic. So I try not to overplay any of the stuff from each one. But yeah, that's what I got coming up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know if you guys have suggestions of who you'd like to hear me talk about. I'm always open to suggestions. You can shoot me an email or drop a comment in one of the videos. Hit me up on Instagram is probably the best way to do it because I check that more frequently. But yeah, throw it at me.
Yeah, no problem. And like I say, all of Nick's links are in the description. And next on the Shaun Attwood channel, we have got Shaun's going to be live delving into a brand new Charlie Kirk theory whilst we scramble to figure out how the dual streaming system work. At least we now know that there is a mobile symbol in the titles, so you guys will be able to differentiate between which stream to click on. And it's a big experiment that we're doing, so please bear with us while we scramble to figure it all out. And Nick, we'll be back again together. We were talking about possibly a bit of a dark web episode over on your channel, and we'll certainly have you back here December time, because do you know what, actually, I think before December, I'm going to put together a new panel show. And I might drag you in as a panel member. I want to do like a Piers Morgan show once a week where there's 4 people and me, and we go through points, and it's kind of what we're doing right now, just a few extra opinions thrown in.
I think that's great. That's a great idea. I love the Piers Morgan show.
Right. It's great. Well, listen, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for Nick for being here. Thank you, mods. Thanks to all of the members of your community that come over here and watch, and they're just a lovely bunch of people. Thank you to the Shaun Attwood channel. Like and subscribe. We will see you all in the next one. And Nick, once again, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Hey, thank you.